Hello everyone. So today I will continue uh, in the JavaScript. Yesterday we were learning about the JavaScript, particularly for the beginners, and we have covered lots of different concepts of JavaScripts like variables, let const, operators, different type of operators, arithmetic operators, logical and or operators. Then we now found about functions, then arrow functions, control flow. It has if else statement, switch statement, for loop, while loop, do while loop, and array methods, different types of array methods that you can use. Then string methods, of course. There are some methods that you can use in a string as well as in the arrays, right? So today we want to go a little deeper, and now I am going to learn about objects, right? Objects in the JavaScript are very important data types. In them you can store different types of information about a particular person, particular city, particular place, on any particular item, right? So for example, we have a named person, right? We have defined a variable named person with a const and let it be object. In this object we can save different type of key value pairs, and in those key value pairs we can store different information about that person. So suppose first we want to store the name of the person, right? Then you can store the age of the person, right? Then there are lots of other factors, we will cover that. Let the name be James and let his age be 25. So we have, as we have yesterday, learned about different data types. So this name is inside a string, and as you can see, this quotation marks, right? So this is string, so name is in the strings, and age is in numbers, right? So age is 25. There are different factors or variables you can store about a person. Suppose, for example, you can even add a function. We will cover that later. So what can be other things? Now let's see in which city he lives. Again, so any information like any name or the name of place, you want to store that inside a string. You can write a string in double quotation or single quotation, whatever you are comfortable with. City can be something like LA, right? Let the city be LA. So city is LA, right? So then country is, he is living in the country USA, right? So these can be details of the person. So then you can add another details, right? So gender, like he's a male, so James is a male, right? So after that you can even add some phone number, right? Or the contact, right? Contact can be some number, right? Anything number, just random number, that's his contact. Then we can add email, right? Email of that person, like James 1234 @gmail.com. That can be his email, right? So these are the details that you can add of a person or any other item you want. So after that, you have defined everything of that person. So then after that, if you want to access something like the name of the person, right? So for example, name, right? You can write person dot name, and if I console it, simply the name, right? Actually name is not allowed. I can write name of the person, or we can write username, right? So this is a username. If I print it, we have the James. Then we can write something like the age or something like user age, right? Then we can write person dot age, right? Then you can again user, wait a minute, this user age, and if I print it, we have James 25, right? So we can even inside objects store a function, right? So suppose example, we have a function say hello, right? We can define a function inside, just like we have defined different fields, and this can be a function, right? And inside this you can say something, let me put a comma here, and you can say something like my name is, if I get the this dot person, right? I think you can access the fields inside this. Actually, let me just simply write hello, my name is James, right? So this is a function we have defined inside object. So that's another thing you can do inside object. Const, we can write something like hello and person dot say hello, and it should be, I think, let me first write hello function. It is saying function say hello, but if I call it, call the function, we have James, hello, my name is James, right? Okay, let me again print it. So person would say hello is doing hello, my name is James. But what if I want to get James from this person object? That's can also be done. We can write, concatenate it with this dot name. Let me again write it, my name is James, right? And after that you can write something, and my age is, then you can add this dot age, this will be the age of this person, right? So if I again console it, as you can see here, we have written hello, my name is James and my age is 25, right? So this is how you can define a function inside it. So if you want to write the shorter form, you can even remove this, and then you can convert it into arrow function. This will stay same work like that. So this is the difference between this and arrow function. I think inside arrow function you can't access this. So this is one of the differences for the arrow function. So I think we should use function keyword, the normal functions, then it will work, right? Hello Vijay Singh, hello everyone. So this is the object, right? So suppose I want to get every field from this object, and city, user city, then I will say person dot city, right? Then after that I want to get the contact or email, user email, then I will write person dot email, right? So in this way you can see you have to again write person dot something, right? And then add this into a different variable name. So this way you have to create so many variable names. So there is a concept, destructuring. Object destructuring in JavaScript. In that way you can actually destructure the different fields of a object in a single line. To do that, you can write const and then write curly braces, right? And then equals to the object you want to destructure. We want to destructure person, its different fields. So inside this you can write different names that are included in the person field. We have age, we have city, we have country, we have gender, we have contact, and we have email, right? We have say hello. So these are different fields I have just destructured in a single line from person. So in this way I do not have to write this again and again. So this is a longer code, this is a shorter code, and the better way to get the values from an object if you have like so many different fields for an object. Like here I will simply print name, age, city, country, right? If I print it James 25 LA USA, right? So here it is saying name is deprecated, declaration mark is deprecated here. So I think you cannot use a name as a variable name, const. So as you can see, these are all become variable names. So for that, suppose you have destructured any field from an object, but you want to name it different. You want to name it a different variable. So for that you can use colon and then write username. So in this way I can just access name as username. You can see James LA USA, right? So even you can do something like contact has something like user contact, right? If for reason your variable names are conflicting with some other variable name you have used inside your program, so that's when you can use this convention to name either destructured variables into something else. So I'll print it, right? This is the contact, right? So we have destructured it. Let me also say hello. Let me try it. Function say hello, Actually I have to write and like this. Actually here I can simply say hello, and let me move it. Okay, there is some minor issue in our code. So yeah, this is how you can destructure different properties, and this is the objects, right? So now we'll also need to know about arrays. Array is another concept or data type that's used very often, just in the same intensity or in the same frequency as objects, right? So arrays is of course defined as closed square brackets, right? So inside arrays you can expose this is array of num, this is the array of numbers, right? So array can be of like array of strings, or in a short form array string, that means it is array of strings. It can be right something like different arrays that you can store. Then there can be a mixed array, right, which actually contains the different types of like numbers, then even names, right, like something like USA, right? These types of like some floats, right? So array can have a mix of data types. It can have strings, numbers, right? But you will barely see this type of array which has like mixed data types. Either you have only numbers or either you have only strings inside your array. So the one very important array that you are going to use is array of objects, right? So inside this you have different objects, right? So inside this there are different objects inside the array, right? So suppose you have some like e-commerce website that we have just made, and you have ID1 and the product, the name of the product, right, can be mobiles, right? So this is one type of, let me remove it. And then again in the second object ID is different and it is laptops, right? Name is laptops. So this is actually array of objects just we have discussed is key value pairs, right? So this is array of objects. You will mostly be working with the array of objects in your project. So next is we will learn the indexing in array. So indexing is definitely so for example this has index of 0, this has 1, 2. So indexing always start from 0 inside array. First element is always, let me write any array, right? So let me write some names like James, Mac, right? Sonia and Tim. So these are the names. So if I want to get the first name, right? So let's write first name, right? Or the first user. The first user is array. You want to get the 0. So it will give us the James. So if you want to get any item from array for particular index, you want to write it like this in square brackets, then 0. If console log, then this is the first user, print it, then we have James, right? So if I want to like simply user, any user, so the last, so second user, suppose we have Sonia, this is 2. Actually, do not confuse that this will be second element, this will be third, because this is 0, 1, 2, right? And if you want to get the last item from the array, you will be writing -1, so it will automatically give you the last item. So I think this is not how we do it. Actually, let me first tell you that if you want to get the length of array, you need to write something length array is equals to array.length. So this will give you the length of array. So in this case, the length of array is 4, right? Because there are 4 items inside the array. So now, if I want to access the last item, I need to write array dot length then -1, right? So that means array dot length is 4, right? And -1, that is 3. So this is 3 actually. So 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So here how you can access the last item. So last item is Tim, of course, right? So this is how you can work with the arrays. Yesterday we have even explored different array methods that you can use, right? So something like array.push, it will push the item in array in the last index at the last of the array. Pop will get out the last item and return it. For each will like it's like a for loop. It will access each item one by one, and you can do anything inside that. Then we have map to create a new array, and then filter to filter the items and return a new array, right? So there are find to find the object or the item, index of to find the index of object, reduce to reduce the array into single value, mostly used for sum, and of course sort. If you have unsorted array, you can sort it, right? So as you can see, this is sorted. These are types of things you can do on arrays. There is a concept of prototypes and inheritance in JavaScript, because JavaScript is a prototype based language and objects can inherit properties and methods from other objects. So yeah, let me also explore that, but I don't think that will be beneficial for coding, but you may be in some code get face to face with this type of things, right? So suppose we have the function named animal. I mispronounced animal. So it has like name, right? You're passing it a name, right? Then this dot name is equals to name. So in this you are saying that the name of this function is the name that we're getting this. So now you can, for the animal, you can set something like, with the prototype you can set a function or a method for this animal, right? Like something like say name, then you have a function, right? And then inside this function you console log that my name is, right? Then you concatenate it with this dot name, right? So what you do is, like, you want to pronounce, this method will pronounce the name of this animal, what you get from this, right? So let you have something like cat, right? Cat variable, and you can now make a new animal instance, right, with a new animal, right? Inside this you can call something Miley, right? That will be the name of Miley, and you want to now make the cat say name, right? Now let me just run it. My name is Miley, right? So cat has said that her name is Miley. Right, this is the prototype nature of the JavaScript. You may find some other ways in which you can use this, but I have not come across this in my programming journey. So it is actually plus point, right? If you want to know about this, right? So now we will learn about JavaScript promises. This is really used inside the APIs and inside the backend in a Node.js, Express.js, whatever you're using, right? So promises, so promises in JavaScript are a powerful and flexible mechanism for handling asynchronous operations. They provide a cleaner and more readable way to work with asynchronous code compared to traditional callback-based approaches. A promise represents the eventual completion or failure of an asynchronous operation and its resulting value. The basic idea behind a promise is to have an object that represents the state of an asynchronous operation, which can be in one of the states. It can be pending, fulfilled, that is resolved, or rejected, right? So let me create a promise. My promise. Inside this promise, I will create a new promise. You can create a promise with a new promise. Inside this, you have resolve and reject. Resolve and reject. And this is a arrow function. This is a simple function. It has two values in resolve and reject, right? You can resolve or reject a simple thing, right? So here actually you can like resolve something, or you want this promise to return something, right, after something like particular amount of time. So for that we will use timeout function, right? Inside this we will provide something like const as success. Let me set it as true, right? Now if success is equals to true, right, then I want to resolve it. I want to resolve the promise as something like completed, simply completed, right? So else if it is not succeeded, right, I want to reject it. Reject is something like failed. So this is a simple promise that I have created. So instead of success, okay, success is right for now. Now set timeout, I want to run it after 2000 milliseconds, that is 2 seconds, right? So now you can access this promise by my promise, right? You can call it, right? After that you can get its you can get the resolve and reject from then and catch. Inside then you will get the actual result, right, that your promise has sent you from an API or something else, right? So here I can say, I can put a result here, right? My promise.then result. Then I can say fulfilled, or simply I can console the result, right? So if I run it, right, after 2 seconds we have been given the message, the result. I can even put it into this and result. Now again run it. right? Result completed, so it is run after 2 seconds. Now suppose success is false, right? So then this condition will run, so it will reject, right? So then that we can do with catch. Catch will catch the error that the promise has thrown, right? So inside this we can call result as a result, right? Now again I run it, and again I run it. After 2 seconds we got this reference as result is not defined. Okay, my bad, here it should be error actually. Again run it, result failed, right? Or you can simply write error is failed, right? So these are the things that are returned by promise. This is how you can run your promise. Also, you can add another thing inside my promise, that is finally, right? So this is the method that will execute the promise regardless of it is resolved or it is rejected, right? So finally has a callback function. You can write anything like this will run anyway, right? So let me run it. Okay, we have error, but we have the finally block ran, right? Executor, or I can say. So it is not dependent on then or catch. Even if we have an error, it will still run or executed. So these are the promises, right? Promises are useful when you have multiple promises that you want to run, right? So I have this is prom. Let me say this is promise 1. Let me simply comment this out, right? So okay, so let me just not put it inside. Okay, let me just put it inside a set timeout. Now again my promise 2, right? This is a new promise. We'll create a new promise here. Resolve reject. And this is set timeout. Inside set timeout. So let me say this is success again, true. Let me also set it as true, right? So if success Rather than comparing this, you can simply write if success, right? So if it is true, this will run. If it is false, it will reject it. So if success, then I want to, one thing to know is that in if else statement you can write without writing them inside curly braces. You can write something like this: resolve, or I can say task 2 completed, and else can reject task 2 failed, right? So this is resolve reject. You can even put them in the same line and remove these curly braces, right? If success, then resolve, else reject. You can also do this. This is how sometimes you want to reduce the lines of your code. If you know that you are not going to write the much code, right? So this is a promise 1, promise 2. This can be task 1 completed. So now let me just remove it. Now I will run my promise 1, and dot then result, right? Then you can also write in the same line your arrow function. You can return in the same line console.log, and inside this you can write your result. Right, so here we have result task 1 completed, right? So you can even remove this, and you can now run it again, task 1 completed. So if the task 1 is completed, I want to then run something else. So if task 1 is completed, I want to run another task. So I can write return my promise 2, right? So let me run it. Let's see what happens. Okay, let me just write something result and console it result, right? Then let me call then again result. You can call multiple then, and console result, and let me run it again. So we have task 1 completed, then task 2 completed, right? So now let me see if task 1 is not completed. We have not used the cache block, right? So we can write the cache block error, then we can write console.error, then error, Okay, we have the field, right? So this is field here. Let me write field at task 1, and we can write here as field at task 2, right? Let me again run it. But you will see that this is field at task 1, right? So suppose our task 1 is success, but our task 2 is fail. So we can use sketch here. Console.log. Actually, let me write console.log here. This error originated either by throwing inside of an async function without a catch block or by rejecting a promise which was not handled with catch. Okay. Let me write it a true. So now both tasks are completed, right? So this is actually called chaining when you use multiple thens after a promise, right? So yeah, this is the promises. Okay, now we will learn about, we have learned about promises. Now we will learn about async await. This is also very popular and very important topic inside JavaScript. Actually, async await, I think also introduced in ECMA 2015. So it replaced then and catch, right? So async and await means, I'll let you know. So suppose we have two functions. One function is like resolve after 2 seconds, right? So its purpose is to resolve a promise after 2 seconds. So we will return a new promise inside it. Then inside this we will resolve. We will not return reject here like this. We will simply return resolve here, and here I want to write something set timeout, just we have used in the previous example, and here a callback function, arrow function. Inside this I will resolved after 2 seconds. Okay, so this function resolve after 2 seconds returned a new promise that resolved a string after the time of, I forget it, time of 2 seconds, 2000 milliseconds, right? So now let me again create another function that will reject after 2 seconds. And it will also return a promise. It will return a promise. This time it will return resolve and reject, right? So we will not use resolve this time. We will simply return reject after set timeout of 2 seconds. Of course, set timeout, I will reject after 2 seconds, that is rejected after 2 seconds, right? This will be rejected after 2 seconds, 2000 milliseconds. So we have two functions. One will resolve a promise after 2 seconds, another will reject a promise after 2 seconds, right? So async await is, right, simply written with async and await, right? So for async await you have to write a function as, suppose this is the example. Example of async await function, right? So here let me write it. So to run this async and await, you have to write a function as async, right? So async await, so suppose now you want the result of this function, right? So you will write result 1. So you run this function resolve after 2 seconds. So after 2 seconds you run it, right? So as this is returning a promise, you can await it. You can await the result of this function for 2 seconds. So then you have to write await So now let me console log the result 1. Okay, we have not run this example function. Let me run it. Yeah. Okay, resolved after 2 seconds. So we have this function called in this example, right? And we have awaited it, and we have like used this. We in the previous example we have used this and like then and catch after a promise to get the result. But in the async await, that then and catch is replaced by async and await. You simply await async operation, right? Asynchronous operation with the await. And in the same way, suppose you have like result 2. Now we know that this is going to be rejected, but instead of getting its result by catch like we're doing inside this promise, we can simply also write the await here, reject after 2 seconds. Then I will write console result 2. Then again, let me remove this console log, run it. Right, so we have this original string error. So this was error, rejected, unhandled rejection. So we can also put it inside try and catch block. This is another thing that we can use. We can try some code, and if there is error, we can catch that error in a catch block. Error, inside this console dot log and then error. Right, now let me again run it. Rejected after 2 seconds. So we got the error. Let me also console log this result 1. We console log it. So we have this first resolved after 2 seconds, right? So after that we have rejected after 2 seconds. So one thing of async and await is that this code will run when this code is executed properly. So this is run after 2 seconds, and after 2 seconds it is run, then this will run, right? So we do not have to write so many then calls for the single promise or multiple promises. So that is the power of this. So I can simply write here, let me write let me write here simply await. You can write also write like this, put it inside console log, and let me run it. This has made it at rejected after 2 seconds, right? So most probably you want to get the result of a promise, right, or an API, because APIs are usually asynchronous functions that will give you result after some time. So this is the same thing. This will give you result after 2 seconds. Also this will give you result after 2 seconds. So these are kind of like APIs. So like some kind of API result, right? So you have created some API 1, you get the result of this, and you have API then 2, then it depends on the result of this, right? You can await it, reject after 2 seconds. Then of course you can console it, API result 1, console it, API result 2. If there is an error, you catch the error. You can also write console.error. Let me again run it. Resolve after 2 seconds, error rejected after 2 seconds. So yeah, this is how you use async and await without using then and catch block. So that's why you have to also write your code inside try and catch block. These are another things that in JavaScript you should learn. Try is to try a block of code and run it, and if there is some error, it will throw an error, so your app will not crash, right? So if I do not use try and catch here, let me comment this out, then our app will crash. Let me run it, because the second promise will reject it, right? First is resolved after 2 seconds, but second it thrown an error, right? So that's why you want to use try and catch error. First we have this resolved, then we have the error. It has got the error. So that's the example of async await. So now, okay, let me cover some advanced stuff, right? Now we will cover some advanced of how you can do some type of things inside the JavaScript, right? So most of the times in the production app, you will have array of objects. Array of objects is when you have different objects in an array, and also you have the IDs of the different items or products, right? Then suppose this is mobiles, and second object is ID 2, then its name is laptops, right? And then in the same way you have some like 2 more fields. This is ID 3, this ID 4, and suppose this is smart watches, and this is what it can be, washing machines, right? So these are the array of objects, right? So suppose these are categories, right? These are the categories, and they have IDs, they have like names of their own, right? So now most of the time. So we will cover the different things we have covered inside all our concepts, right? So I will cover everything we have learned so far. So I will write a function, right? Function. So here, suppose you want to write a function get category. You want to get a category, right? You want to get a category by its ID. So you get the ID, pass the ID inside the arguments, right? Then you return something, right? So for this function to work, we can write some calculation inside this function. Also, as we have covered arrow function, most of the time we want to convert function into arrow function, because most of the time now everyone will be using, in your own companies, everyone will be using arrow functions. So it's better to learn the arrow functions as soon as possible. So this is the arrow function. So now this is the array of objects. I want to get or find an object category, right? So here I will run categories. This is an array dot find, right? Find is, this will get a category and then index, right? And this will return category dot id. So it will find category one by one. First it will find for first object, then second, then third, then fourth, right? So first it will write category dot id is equals to id, right? This id that we are getting, right? So now we want to store it inside the object or a found, right? Found item or found product, and I want to return it. So this is how you made a function. Most of the time you will be working like this in the production apps. You make a function, its sole purpose is to do something, only one thing, only one task at a time. So its sole purpose is to get a category from the ID, from this array categories. So most of the times you will get these categories from an array, right? You will write this code in your front end and this will be your back end, right? So now let me call this function const find category is equals to get category, right? I will pass an ID as 2, right? I want to find the category which has ID as 2, so there should be laptops. Let me console log find category, run it, right? Now we have found the second object ID was with 2 and name laptops, so it returned an object. So actually I can make this code shorter, because Here you can see index is declared but its value is never read. So we are not using index in our this function. We can reduce it, we can remove the index, right? And now this is the array function, and one of the benefits of array function is that sometimes if you are returning a single value, right, you are not doing anything else, you can even remove the curly braces. I can remove the curly braces from here, and also you can remove the return statement. Then you can write this that you are returning in the same line. So this will still work. You can even remove this and you remove this. Right? So let me see it. Right, our code is working. Previously it was almost like 2-3 lines, now it is only single line, right? So you can even make it even more shorter by writing this whole statement inside the return statement. You don't have to add something inside another variable. So you don't have to create a variable. That means we have made this, right? Return the categories.find, right? Now you can even made it more shorter because this is also an arrow function, right? So you can remove it to make it smaller. You can remove the curly braces and return, because we are only returning a single thing. We're not doing any other code, writing any other code here. We'll remove the curly braces, we'll remove the return, and we will remove write this line of code here. So as you can see, we have reduced this whole function into a single line because of arrow function. We will run, it is still running, it is still finding us this laptop, right? You can even remove this, right? Even more shorter, right? Shorter and shorter. So as you can see how our code become shorter and shorter. It has become now single line instead of 3 or 4 lines, right? So that is the power of arrow functions. Now of course in production apps you will not have these few fields inside the objects. There will be more fields. We will write another field that has type. Its type is electronics, right? So its type is electronics, right? So its type is menswear, right? Because smartwatch can be menswear, right? So its type is electronics, right? So we have now also a third field inside our objects as type, right? So this function get category. So to make our function names more meaningful, like to get what they are doing, I can say get category by ID, right? So this will tell me that it's getting a category from these categories by its ID, right? So then there's you can better manage and maintain your code for a longer term. Now I want to make another function that will get categories or a category by type, because we have a third field as type, right? So now we will pass type here and we will write categories dot, right? So actually there is a difference between this and this. We cannot use find here because find will only return a single item inside our fields, but type one single type. There are multiple objects who have the single type, the same type. So electronics can have a very large amount of objects, items, right? So I will be using filter here, filter, and of course inside filter we have a category, and inside this let me write category. Now we will write category dot type is equals to type, the type we are getting, right? Now here I will write get category by type. Instead of finding ID, I will enter a type here. Now we have console defined category. Let me write. As you can see, we have found 3 entries inside our array which have type as electronics, right? So that's when you want to find, use the filter. There's a difference between find and filter, right? Find will give you a single, it will return a single object or item in an array, but filter will give you a whole new array of the found items. Now let me create another function called update category item, or simply update category. So in this we will get the ID which we want to update, and suppose we want to update category name, simply the name, right? So we'll get the name that we want to update, right? Then here inside this so to update the category, first I will find the index of the item which has the ID as given inside our function, right? Let me write it here. So suppose in the update category name, we want to update of ID 4, right? We want to, suppose we have written WS small, MS small. We want to write as capital letter, washing machine, right? It is washing machines. We want to write simply washing machine. So inside update category name, let me console the ID and the name we are getting, right? So we're getting the washing machine and this, because it is not returning anything, that's why we got undefined, right? So first we are going to find the index. Or simply index of the item, right? Here I want to find the items categories dot find index, right? Index of like category, where the category dot id is equals to id, the id we are getting in the function that we are passing here, right? So let me console the index. I think index should be 3 because this is 0 item, 0th, this is first, this is second, and this is third. This is the third index. Console it, we get the 3, index is 3. Now I know that I need to make the changes in the third item of the categories, right? Now I want to create a new item, right? Here I want to first let me get the item, right? Item is equals to our categories. This is array in this, and this is the index. That's how you can get the item. Let me also console it. We have this item id4 name washing machine. We want to change the name here, right? We get the item. Now as item is an object, now we will learn about spread operator. This is the spread operator we are going to learn, very important inside the JavaScript if you want to work with the objects or mutations, right? Simply mutations. So I will destructure this item, right? Let me console the new item. As you can see, this has created a new item. Remove it, new item. So that means it has destructured the item. This new item has all the fields of this item, right? But now I want to replace this name, right? Name field with the name coming from this. I can write name and name, right? Let me say it. New field, we have the name changed, washing machine, right? Now one thing is done. We find the index of item by id. We get the item from our array. Now also we have created a new item by using a spread operator and replacing the name with this name with the name that we're getting in the function. Now the thing is, I want to add this new item inside this, right? Inside the categories, right? So now I can set, I know that this item is inside at the index 4, right? So I can write something like this: categories, or I can write categories at index that we have found for this item, and this was the item at this index, but now at this index I want this new item. So I want this as a new item. So at this index, this new item in place of this old item will be replaced. So to better understand, I can name it old item. Right? We had the old item, right? New item this, destructure old item, replace the name with the name, and categories index is equal new name. Let me now. Okay. So we'll not place it here. As you can see, in not every function you will return anything, right? In some function you want to just do some calculations, right? So here we have done some updation work, or we have only returned the update code, we have not returned anything. So these are also their case possible. So after everything, let me console the categories. Now the categories should be updated by now, right? You can see we have this washing machine updated, this was washing machine, and this washing machine updated. So that's how you can write different functions for different purpose. This is to get category by ID, this is to get category by type, this is to simply update category name, right? So in today's live stream, we learned about the promises, right? How you can create promise and then get the result by then and catch. Then also prototypes that you may not use in your code. Then we have learned about async await, very important. Suppose you have some of the promise and you want to get the result, you can get the result from await. Also for APIs also you can get the API result of API. So as you may know, API give you a result after some seconds or some milliseconds. So here they're giving result after 200 to 2000 milliseconds. So you got the result through await. Also you need to take care of that. You have to use async just before your function call, right? So after that, I worked with different types of arrays: array of numbers, array of strings, mixed array, array of objects. You can check the array of length. You can get the last item of array, right? So also the objects. We learned about the objects. We can call a function inside the object. Different fields, we can destructure them by using curly brackets, right? So these are the things. Again, we have used some advanced concepts. This is the array of objects with items having keys, ID, name and type and different values. But first we made a function category by ID, providing ID, and then we're finding it, and we manage it to write in the same single line. If your function is doing or returning only single thing, and you can convert it into arrow function and write it only a single line, so that way your code will be lean and very clean. So this is update category. We're not returning anything, not every function return anything, right? So these are the things that you can do in the JavaScript, right? So yeah, so these are the things that you can take care of, right? So also in yesterday's streams I have covered very basic stuffs, right? Like variables, data types and something else. You can also watch yesterday's stream, right? We're exporting the array methods that we have used here, right? We have used find in this our advanced course, like advanced little course. We have used filter, we have also used index of, right? We have used index of. We have also used spread operator, where you can spread any item and change it, right? So these are the concepts you can learn. So yeah, so I think that's all for today's live stream. Yeah, so from tomorrow we are going to build some websites, build some clones. Of course, later on we will get to know about different technologies. We will explore the different technologies related to front-end world, back-end world, right? So many stuffs we're going to explore in the live streams. So yeah, stay tuned. Yep. Thank you everyone for watching. Okay, bye bye guys. Yeah, thank you.